Welcome to the Back to Me podcast, where we help multicultural incoming freshman women and men manage their entire college experience throughout post-graduation to successfully transition into entrepreneurship and corporate workspaces as new hires.
Back to me. Oh, I turned it around. I'm back to me. I finally figured it out. I'm back to me. So when you think you have nothing, back to me. I go back to me. Yeah, I'm back to me.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Yoli Tamu. Another exciting school year is upon us, and many incoming students, as well as graduates, are preparing to return to college to develop those skills that will help them stand out in their chosen profession. In this week's episode, we invite back renowned higher education professional, Dr. Parris Carter, who is now the inaugural dean of the Graduate College at Wiley University in Marshall, Texas. Dr. Carter discusses the launch of 3 online master's programs in the fields of criminal justice, business, and higher education. Find out how this private HBCU has been able to increase their enrollment by highlighting the importance of equity and social justice. Enjoy. Wow, this is a special interview for me. Have a returning guest who has gone on to another school and he's doing incredible things, another HBCU to be exact. And he really inspired me to do so many things and to utilize my talents and to get up on Howard stage and do my thing. He's Dr. Parris Carter. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. And thank you so much for circling back and checking in with me. It's great to be here and be on your podcast.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you for coming back. And I would love you to remind our audience about, what you do, who you are, and how you're serving young people today.
Okay, sure. So I'm in my 28th year working in higher education. I have spent the majority of that time at historically Black universities. I've had great experiences at other institutions as well, but I've spent most of that time at HBCUs. And I am currently the inaugural dean of the graduate program at Wiley University, which is HBCU in East Texas. Probably for listeners, most known for our forensics debate team, and the movie Great Debaters was based on the program at Wiley University. We just transitioned from Wiley College to Wiley University last year. So a lot of good things happening at Wiley.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now you're the inaugural dean. Now you told me you've got 3 specialties. I think it was MBA, criminal justice, and one other. I think
higher education.
Yes, higher. Duh. Okay. I love it. I love it. Well, congratulations on transferring from college to university. That's great.
Yeah, it is. It is. Thank you. Thank you. Lots of exciting things happening at Wiley.
Fantastic. Now, you had also told me there was a new program. It was an 8-week session that you offer to students that are just quickly preparing for those that want to serve at HBCUs in particular. Is that right?
Well, yeah. So our programs are designed, and if you don't know much about Wiley, Wiley's mission is around social good. It's around advocating for equity. So these programs are designed to do that, for people that want to, further their credentials, but specifically want to go back into those respective fields, business, criminal justice, higher education, and really make impact when it comes to the experiences of, people of color. Mm-hmm. And so these programs, are designed to do that. And so it's exciting to be a part of that, be a part of really talented instruction. The faculty that we have are caring. They have been practitioners in the field as well as academic experts in teaching. And so it's exciting. The structure of the programs are, 8-week sessions, and the business program, 30 credit hours. So when you're doing 2 classes a session, so that's 6 credit hours a session, you can get done right at a year. And so it is accelerated, but the first cohort, the inaugural cohort, will be finishing in the fall. They started in January and they'll be they'll be finished with masters in business administration in the fall. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's moving pretty quick for them. That's great. That's fantastic. So then you also told me about enrollment. Enrollment has increased, right, as a result of this program?
Yes. One of the objectives, not just being able to push more practitioners with an equity lens into these fields, but also to enhance our enrollment and, the brand of the university. And so, with the first cohort, we had 36 new students. We expected 18, so we surpassed our goal for the first cohort. And the second cohort that will be starting in August, right now we project there'll be about 50 in that cohort. So so the graduate programs will also help in building enrollment for Wiley University.
This is fantastic. And so is there a direct connection for them to intern or to walk into places of employment? Because, DEI is taboo more and more on these corporate places. So is there a connection for these students to transfer right on in to a job?
So DEI isn't just taboo. In some states, it is clear that it is to be dismissed and eliminated. So a lot of it, I think, is the practice of equity doesn't go anywhere. Maybe we're not using some of the language, but the need to have equity within these industries doesn't change. And so part of the programs, all three of the programs have 2 sessions of internships. And so the hope is, as part of their requirement, we're able to help them network, with organizations that could, become places that they land employment. So that's the goal. Yeah.
That's great. That's good. Because, on this podcast, we serve that incoming college freshman and then that outgoing graduate. So, that postgraduate will be coming and be interested in this type of program. So it's good to know that there is support with those internships for them as well.
And I failed to mention, sorry, but these are online programs. And so we have students that are from all over. In the first cohort, most are from Texas and that region, but we have students from other states as well, since it's an online program.
That's great. So if they're already working, they can get this done as well at the same time.
Yes.
Now, we also talked about, as we head into the new semester, HBCUs have become so popular. For various reasons, people want to be connected to culture. But as I just said, the DEI taboo conversation and critical race theory, there's so many ways who we are is being pushed aside out of some crazy fear of knowing who we are. But as HBCUs grow in popularity, why do you think that's happening? I gave you my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I think that some of the public, knowledge and awareness, was enhanced during the last election. We had some notable politicians and public figures that, were products of HBCUs. So I think, 4 or 5 years ago, some of that brought more awareness. However, once people started to unpeel some of the realities of HBCU education, I think it's just other folks have learned that, there's some amazing things that happen at HBCUs beyond just the culture, but the way that our institutions wrap around students in a time where students are needing more support. HBCUs, I think, have done that really well because some of the historical approaches to educating our students, those things were already in place at many HBCUs, not perfect and not at all 105 of them in a perfect way. But I just think that there is a culture of care that happens at HBCUs that may not exist other places. And I think the world, through different means, kind of became more aware of that. Now, I'll also say that while they have grown in awareness and popularity, and some of the premier HBCUs have experienced the residual of that with more applications, and some have seen a spike in enrollment, the majority have not. And so, again, that's more of the public landscape, because we always have sort of the big 5 or the big 7. You're a Howard alum. And so some of those institutions, seem to always get, the grace of the public. And that is certainly warranted. I'm not dismissing that. But, there's 90 plus others that, needs just a more attention as well, because they're doing amazing things for young people that have found the fit on these campuses that they probably wouldn't have in other places. And so I always feel the need to highlight that. And then the last piece of it, if you're at a private institution, you can still exercise your interest in equity work and classes that are focused on, civil liberties, and you don't have to deal with so much of what has happened, around diversity, equity, inclusion, and trying to eliminate all these important educational processes. And, I'm not going to say you don't have to deal with it, because there's certain legislation in all of our states, but there's just more autonomy with your curriculum and, the education that takes place based on the mission of the institution at some of the smaller private universities. Like a Wiley.
Like Wiley, that's right. I love it. I love it. I'm so glad you're saying this, because what you're describing is what people need to hear that are still interested in HBCUs or curious about them, and what's the difference between it and a PWI. It's about that connection, on so many levels, when you get there. So as we, think about heading into the new semester, and enrollment, as we said, is increasing, whether they're at a PWI or an HBCU, what specifically, I don't know, comes to mind for campuses when it comes to improvement to just make their schools more attractive, more desirable to just students in general? What can they be doing?
Yeah, I think you just hit on it. You're so wise. You don't even realize it. You're so wise. But connectivity has really emerged as like a priority for students and their campuses. They want to feel connected. Like, so 15 years ago, students were looking at, what are the new things on campus, new buildings, and what do they give me? Do I get a free laptop upon enrollment? And what are the amenities in the residence hall? Like, so they were looking at that. We want these institutions that look like shopping malls. And this generation of student needs to feel connected, and they need to feel that the institution cares about social justice and equity. Like, that's what these students are looking for. And so I think campuses, we all have to do better and always looking at strategic ways to connect with all students, because, there's a diverse array of personalities and gifts and strengths. And so we've got to do a better job of assessing those needs of students and then redirect what we're doing to make sure that that is the focus. Sometimes I think we as campus leaders get so involved with our own strategy that we don't spend enough time assessing what students, need and want. We could always have better facilities, and our grounds could be better, and technology, HBCUs are always just a little behind because that's a resource issue. Technology is a resource issue. And so we're usually a little behind with technology and physical plant, because those are directly related to, resources. But I think the big thing is showing care. And I mean this, showing care as an institution. And that may just be, we have to do some of the small things better and more. And that kind of support and connection, with students. And so I think if we focus on those things, care, support, and connectivity, we will continue to see, increases in our interest and enrollment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that, because I just think about that student that's thinking about career pathways and vocational programming as opposed to college, because, they can't afford it, or they just don't see the purpose of college. And what you're laying out is really what's important on those campuses. And I just feel, that vocations are fine, but sometimes I feel that colleges offer you more of a vast opportunity to network and explore who you are. You know what I mean? So I'm so glad you're saying that they need to really emphasize care. So now we always wrap up with words of encouragement. So I'm thinking about that postgraduate for this particular interview that's trying to figure out, their way, their direction. So you mentioned you have an online program, so that's convenient for them. But how can we encourage that postgraduate to just go forth and be our next leader and pursue higher education and pursue higher learning?
Yeah, sure. So I think every generation of college graduates, so every 4 years or so, there's a different kind of challenge. I think there's different opportunities and different challenges. And so I think one opportunity right now is if you haven't had a lot of luck on your job search, or you're still really trying to figure out your pathway based on your major, you don't necessarily have to be pinholed into that one industry or that one discipline, because the world has opened up a little more. And so you may find yourself pursuing things that may be a little outside of your discipline, but it may be an opportunity that helps you develop, you end up liking. And then once you get some experience behind you, you can merge that with maybe what your initial interest was. I've seen students successfully do that in the last couple of years, because it's just not easy finding a job, for one. And so I would say just be more open and broad with the way you're searching for your career path. And I also think the good and the bad is I think we're saturated with graduate degrees. And so I can speak to MBAs specifically. There are so many people among us that have an MBA credential. However, I think if you have an MBA credential that is rooted in change, transformation, and entrepreneurship, that will help you stand out. And that's why we have focused our program on those three things: change, transformation, and entrepreneurship, because you're going to get the kind of training that allows you to do your own thing, build your own business from ground up, but you're also going to have the skill set and experience to manage within the industry. And so I think that that's a plus. And I could speak the same way about the other two programs. We have specifically designed those to help students stand out. And so I would say also, even if it's not Wiley University, but if you're looking at graduate degrees, because there's so many programs that offer graduate degrees, look at those that have some kind of niche that's a little different that you can use for your trajectory.
Mm-hmm. This is great. Fantastic. Thank you for saying that. So as always, our listeners always want to have that opportunity to reach out to you and maybe learn more about your college. Where should I send them? Is it an email address, or maybe send them to LinkedIn?
Sure. If it's me, definitely LinkedIn. For information about the graduate programs at Wiley, the easiest way is just to email graduate@wileyc.edu. graduate@wileyc.edu.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for being with us. This was a little family reunion for us.
I know, it's like you've been doing such amazing things. And I'm just, you never know when you meet people at your initial meeting, you never know where your paths are going to take you. And I just appreciate the work that, you did for us at Howard University, and then us just staying connected and me being a part of your journey as well. And so I love it. And every time I see you, my heart is just warm. So thank you.
Same here. Thank you so much, Dr. Carter. You're the best. All right. Well, enjoy your family and enjoy this summer.
Yeah.
And we will be talking.
All right. You take care.
All right. You take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. As you begin to embark on a new career path, be sure to keep your options wide open and take the time to identify the social good in your field. For more information about other episodes, remember to subscribe to the Back to Me podcast, College and Beyond. I'm your host, Yoli Tamu. Leave a review at the end of this podcast, and if you would like to learn more about other special events, join the Back to Me podcast Facebook group, or simply text Back to Me to 833-206-4565. Until next time, be well.
Back to me. Oh, I turned it around. I'm back to me. I finally